Greetings people from Beers Blender, my name is Ronald and welcome back to another whiskey review. Today we are reviewing, I would say, one of the most popular Christmas time, winter time single malt whiskies. Just because of its characteristics, the looks and just the overall feeling you get from this whiskey. I got this about, I think, a year ago, so it has been sitting in a bottle quite a long time. But yeah, I can kind of remember what this whiskey reminded me of, and it really hasn't changed that much over time. But today we are taking a look at 15-year-old Dalmore, bottled at 40% ABV, chill filtered and colored. That is a really big shame in my humble opinion and the opinion of many other whiskey drinkers out there. I would love to see a natural color, unchill filtered, higher ABV Dalmore with an age statement. That would be awesome. There are some Dalmores which have higher ABV but are non-age stated. The cigar malt, I believe, and a couple of the new sherry releases. I also think the 18-year-old has 43% ABV. I don't know that for sure, but yeah. They all are chill filtered and have coloring. That's a shame. The Dalmore range is pretty wide. You have the 12-year-old, the 15-year-old, and the 18-year-old, and then you have the King Alexander the third. That's kind of the Dalmore range that's widely available on websites or in stores. And then you have some really expensive Dalmores like the 25, 20-year-old, 21-year-old, some port finishes, some vintages. The cigar malt recently got renewed. It's called the Cigar Malt Reserve. It is available, but it's expensive. It varies a lot, so I don't really think that it's part of the core range from Dalmore. King Alexander III has been in production for a long time. It's a blended single malt. So yeah, they can, well, keep producing it. And the 18-year-old is also quite available and not that expensive, around 8,500. This is about 40 to 65. I got it for 40. It was on a discount. Dalmores are on discount from now and again, especially around this time, because this is considered a winter whiskey, if you know what I mean. The more fruity, fruit cake, Christmas, spice notes. But before we are going to go into the whole review thing, I have some new things here. My Malt cards. Thank you, Ralphie. No, but I wanted to give a little bit more of a presentation to my whole review setup. And well, Ralphie uses Malt marks. This is the same idea, but I am going from let's see, 6 and up to 10, but with a comma. Is that English? I don't know, but like 6.4, 6.6, 7.2 instead of like the hundreds numbers. But yeah, I will give this a mark. A malt score, I think I will be calling it that. I don't know. But before we go into the bottle, I will talk a little bit about the heritage of Dalmore and the brand that is behind it, the corporation, like Diageo and that stuff. The corporation that is responsible for the Dalmore is White & Mackay, and the person in particular that is responsible for the Dalmore is Richard Patterson. He's an all-time favorite of mine in the whiskey industry. He's an awesome guy. If you have never heard or watched videos from Richard Patterson, then go on YouTube, go on Google, search him. He's amazing. You will definitely get a good laugh, and you will learn some things from that man as well. But yes, I have a really nice article here. It's not that big, and I am going to read it off my tablet because it has a lot of different information on here. So I will read. By the way, if you just want to watch the whole whiskey thing on its own, the nose, the taste, go to the timestamp in the description. There I will put a link thingy, even for mobile users. They can click on it and then you will just go straight to the whiskey. First, let's pour a glass. Yeah, let's do that because, well, it's 15 years old and I want to let it sit in the glass for about 15 years. The bottle design is really nice. Later on in the video, I will talk about where this logo comes from because that's a really nice story, so stick around to the end. By the way, the story isn't long. I think about 1 minute or something. So, let's pour a nice little dram of Dalmore. I really need to finish this off. But yeah, I think the next Dalmore that I will get is the 12-year-old or maybe even the 18-year-old. A lot of people say the 15-year-old is kind of the best of the three there. But let's just set that aside for a minute. And let's start reading. In 1917, production ceased as the Royal Navy were using the warehouses as factories to produce mines, the Dalmore warehouses. After they left in 1920, part of the distillery had been damaged by a fire, following an explosion in a warehouse, and Dalmore only resumed production in 1922. While Andrew Mackenzie took the Navy to court in a row over compensation. That's a little bit weird written here, but yes, the Mackenzie name, that's something you need to remember. I will come back to that later. A Saladin box malting system was installed in 1956, which remained in operation until 1982, the last time any barley was malted on site. There are still some distilleries, Springbank and Lafroig, I believe, who malt their own barley, even Highland Park, but that's a percentage. Nobody knows for sure except the people who do it. But there isn't any distillery that does it all on their own because there's such a high demand for whiskey. The distillery remained under sole ownership until 1960. When it was merged with White & Mackay, the new company increased the number of stills from 4 to 8 in 1966. So they have 8 stills, which is quite a lot actually. In the period between 1917 and 2002, ownership of White & Mackay changed hands a few times and the company went through a bit of an identity crisis. Yeah, I think that's the moment when, well, the whole Dalmore thing got a little bit on a sidetrack, and then they introduced the whole 40% chill filtration, that kind of stuff, because those types of things get introduced to a whiskey to make it more accessible to the public. A lower ABV, no filtration, color. That's all stuff that works for the non-connoisseur, if you know what I mean. I will explain that later. Blah 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 blah. According to the White & Mackay website, the company became part of the Sir Hugh Fraser Suits Group in 1971. 2 years later, Tom and Toole and Feathercairn distilleries were purchased. Suits was acquired by Longrow in not Long Row, but the Longrow. Yeah. In 1981, and subsequently, White & Mackay was sold to Brent Walker in 1988. That person has nothing to do with Johnny Walker, as far as I am aware. And then to American Brands, now Fortune Brands in 1990. The company that acquired Isle of Jura and Tamnavulin in 1990. Oh, then acquired, yeah. So at the moment, White & Mackay also do the Jura whiskies, which is interesting to know. Jura at Tamnavulin remained part of the White & Mackay stable. Tom and Toole was sold to the Angus Dundee distillery in 2000. And Feathercairn, they also have Feathercairn. That's a brand that we will get to later. But Tamnavulin is mostly used for brands, blends. Same with the Feathercairn brand. Feathercairn has a lot of interesting single malts on the market. Feathercairn Fjord, for example, which is cheap and quite popular, but really overlooked. The White & Mackay company name has been changed in 1966 to JBB Europe. American brands had become Fortune Brands by the time JBB Europe staged a management buyout in 2001, changing their name to Kindle Spirits. The name change provided confusion too far. Though And the following year, Kynal returned to being called White and Mackay. So yeah, a lot of going around with names and such. Despite all the upheaval during this period, Dalmore were releasing some of the finest malt whiskey ever to come out of the Highlands. That's not true. The word they should be using was most popular. Yeah, not best, because Dalmore, in the eyes of a lot of connoisseurs and a lot of professional whiskey tasters and drinkers, Dalmore is for the masses, not for the connoisseur. That doesn't mean this whiskey is bad, by the way. Blah 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 blah. Thanks in large to the abundant talents of one of the most well-respected ambassadors the whiskey industry has, White and Mackay Master Blender, the I can't pronounce that word, Richard Patterson. Yeah, Richard Patterson is a kind of the god of the whole whiskey industry. Everybody knows him, and everybody has a lot of respect for the man. Shortly after the JBB/Kynal management buyout, Patterson's most famous creation, the Dalmore 62-year-old, broke the world record at auction for a single bottle of whiskey, nearly 26,000 pounds. Another bottle was sold to a private individual a few years later in 2005. That figure was going for $37,000. Dalmore is now under Indian ownership, with parent company White and Mackay having been bought by Indian tycoon Vijay United Brand Group in 2007. So, White and Mackay is in Indian hands now. Interesting to know. So, well, this has been sitting in the glass for a couple minutes now. Definitely a little bit of a fresh fruit note. I am not really getting those fruit cake notes, etc. at the moment. If you go a little bit further away from the glass, then you are getting those nice warm spices, a little cinnamon appearing, some fruit cake, biscuits. I'm not getting a turkey that's just came out of the oven though. I'm not getting. I would actually really like a whiskey that actually smelled like baked turkey or roasted turkey. That would be amazing. But there is that nice pleasant feel. It's not harsh. It is simple, but all the things that are in this whiskey are good, if you know what I mean. This is not complex in the sense of there is a lot of different things going on. It's pretty shallow. Yeah, and what I can remember is this whiskey has always been a little shallow. It has a little bit, it's more mellow. It has mellowed down quite a bit due to oxidization, etc., etc. But I can really remember this whiskey being really really complicated, difficult, but that's not the purpose for this whiskey. This whiskey has been meant for the masses, but it is a good one, for sure. Taste is a different story. Nice baking spices, bread, cookies, Christmas bread with the spice on top. The taste is really nice. The taste, the palate has really evolved from letting it breathe. The nose is meh. It is nice, but it could have been better. The taste is amazing, and that's the thing that I can remember from this whiskey. The nose, not really something life-changing. The taste though, different story. Taste, nice. I really like the taste of this whiskey. you would expect something entirely different. It smells more like a Speyside fresh fruit whiskey, but gentle. There are some spices, cinnamon, cloves. Yeah, definitely. What are they saying on the box exactly? Matured in American white oak and 3 styles of sherry wood. Okay. Tasting notes. 12 years maturation in American white oak. Ex-bourbon cask. Precede a 3-year finish. And why, this is a thing I don't understand. Why can't people just put a normal font on a box? Why has it to be such a difficult to read font? My god. 3 different sherry roots. Amoroso, Apostle, and Matusalem Oloroso. I think I'm getting that on the nose. Because there is definitely some fruit, cherry fruit, red fruit nose, berries. And I think that's from the different sherry root finishes. A robust yet elegant spirit. The nose is indeed elegant and the taste is more robust. That's kind of the thing. Aroma, orange marmalade, cinnamon and nutmeg. I am getting some jam notes, but orange marmalade in particular, no. It may be a combination of a lot of things, but when I smell this, I am not getting, yes, that's orange marmalade. But indeed, there are some spices, cinnamon, nutmeg, yeah. Some cinnamon in the back, nutmeg. I think the jam notes are hiding the nutmeg. I will add some water soon, by the way. Palate, mandarin, vanilla, ginger, and crushed apples. I'm not getting apples here. Mandarin, yes. Vanilla, ginger, yeah. Finish, peppery, spice, and oak. Yeah, for sure. But I'm not getting those harsh, intense tannins. So indeed, this is American oak heavy. I am not getting bitter chocolate, bitter tannins. So I would say they are using some quality casks. I don't think third fill or something. Definitely first and second fill. For, well, the bourbon and the American oak and the sherry cask. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Ex-bourbon cask. Yeah. I would say definitely the first fill sherry casks. And I think second fill bourbon. Because this is not really bourbon heavy. So, yeah, that's kind of the thing here. Let's give it a mark. Mark. Well, let's just first check if this changes with water. Shall we? No, change of plans again. I'm sorry. First, let's mark this without water and then with water. No, it's better than that. Yeah, I think this will do the job. I am really bummed about the whole... Yeah. Let me explain why I am giving it this mark in a minute. 7.9 out of 10. Can you actually see that? No, you cannot. There, you can now. 7.9 out of 10. Why am I giving it that low of a mark? First of all, let's pour some water. It's really hectic today. Yeah, in my opinion, this does not take a lot of water. About 2 drops, 2-3 drops, nothing life-changing. Oh, the nose is definitely opening up a bit more. Okay, well, 7.9 out of 10. Why? This is without water, mind you. First of all, the whole chill filtration, 40% caramel coloring, artificial coloring. Nobody wants that in their whiskey anymore. There are a lot, and I mean a lot of people who prefer it au naturel and with a higher ABV. For example, cask strength whiskies are bought up left and right. In my opinion, the whole caramel coloring is not that big of a deal. In exchange to the whole chill filtration and ABV department, I would love to see this at 42, 43. That would just give this whiskey a bit more of a bite, and I think it would handle it well. This is not a bad whiskey. This is a good whiskey, but remember the way how I score my whiskeys is a 10 is just a perfect product. They got the presentation right. They got the whole presentation of the whiskey itself right. Taste, nose, finish, the whole thing. They just did well. Everything is cohesing with each other in a nice way. All working together nicely. Nothing stands out. That's really not meant to stand out. Yeah, and well, if it is just a perfect product, then I will give it a 10 out of 10. Whether I like it or not, taste, smells, and that kind of stuff is subjective. I might find this whiskey very pleasing and give it a 9 out of 10. But then you buy it and you're saying, well, it's not as good as that reviewer suggested. But I am marking these subjectively. What could have the distillery or the manufacturer or the bottler have done to deliver a better experience within this whiskey? In my opinion, the whole chill filtration, coloring, and ABV should have done differently. That's that. The packaging and the presentation of the product itself, not the whiskey, is perfect. It's nice, it's really good. Mind you, a 7.9 isn't really that high or low. I am not giving it an 8 because, well, those three things, the coloring, the chill filtration, you get it, are kind of a big deal. So I don't think it deserves an 8 based on that. But if I just go on the taste alone and say, did they a good job? The nose wasn't really that interesting when I opened it, and it is not that interesting now. It has changed a lot with water, actually. It has become more full, more rich, a little darker, spicy, those notes. Just a little bit of water can change a whiskey a whole lot. Yeah. It's just the nose has always let me down on this whiskey. The taste I always liked, but the nose, it just isn't cohesing and working together with the rest of the experience of the whiskey very well. I expect to be this I expect this to be a dark whiskey, etc. And with water, it kind of turns into that, but it is yellow, and the taste is different from the nose, but the finish is also lacking a lot, in my opinion. The development builds up nice, finish a little spicy, and then falls off a cliff. And that's kind of disappointing. It is a little bit... the finish is longer with the water. I will mark this with water now, because it is... Those 2 or maybe 3 drops change this whiskey for the better. I like it a lot more now. yeah, this is a pleasant one. All right, this is the mark without water. This is the mark I give it with water, an 8.5. That's an increase of 0.6 points, marks. And the nose has become more of a whole with the taste. And the finish is longer. Now I am getting those bourbon notes with the water, but those more darker bourbon notes that I'm getting in my 12-year-old Elijah Craig. Those deeper notes. And those work nice with the baking and Christmas theme that this whiskey delivers in the taste and the finish. A little bit of oak, yeah. Now I can taste the age of the whiskey. And now it has a more fuller finish. You see, this is why I went for the cars. Because, well, it's better this way. Yeah, good one. Let's see. Ooh, pepper spice, nice. Honey, cubes, sweetness. Sweetness, dark fruits, even some lighter fruits. Yeah, there is apple. Without water, there isn't. The apple is in the finish. Not really on the palate that much. Okay. The Dalmore's heritage dates back to 1263. It was in this year that an ancestor of the clan Mackenzie, owners of the Dalmore distillery for over a century, saved King Alexander III from the fury of a charging stag. In recognition of this noble act, the grateful king granted the clan Mackenzie the right to use a 12-point stag representing a royal in their coat of arms. This striking icon has since adorned each bottle of the Dalmore, symbolizing the Dalmore distillery's regal legacy. That's nice. The Dalmore is crafted using a 150-year-old artisan process passed down through the generations, harnessed by the skills of our craftsmen. 8 hand-beaten copper stills of variable shape and size deliver a full-flavored and complex new spirit. This is then tempered and enriched over the years in the finest American white oak ex-bourbon cask and hand-selected Oloroso sherry buds, sourced from world-renowned Bodega Gonzalez Baez. Master distiller Richard Patterson then makes his final selection, harmonizing the spirit of the chosen cask in bespoke sherry butts until he decides that the precious contents are ready for bottling. Can I please have a boil? I think I need to puke. That is marketing at its finest, people, and that's the reason why the Dalmore has such a bad reputation with a lot of people, because of the whole marketing stuff. In sense, the added coloring, chill filtration, low ABV is also marketing, because it gets, well, if you see this color, darker, deeper color are yeah, what's the good way to say it? Associated with quality instead of a lighter whiskey. So that's why the whole caramel coloring thing has been added. And it worked 10 years ago. It doesn't work now. Not as well. So they should get rid of it. The low ABV is also more acceptable for people, because people don't really want the whole alcohol burn, etc., and the hassle of adding water to their whiskeys. And the chill filtration department is just, well, if you want to pop an ice cube in, yeah, people don't want their whiskey to be cloudy. I don't know why, but people just don't want it. In my opinion, I really haven't tried the same whiskey with or without chill filtration, but, well, you are removing something from the whiskey, so I don't think that is a good thing, but let me say this once and for all the bad things that I said about this whiskey aren't really meant to say, do not buy this, it's not good, blah 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 blah. You should buy it. You should buy it. If you are a whiskey drinker and you have never had Dalmore, you should. Whether it's a 12-year-old, a non-age statement one, or the 15-year-old, or the 18-year-old, or maybe the 25-year-old, that's around 400 at the moment. You should definitely try and get the Dalmore. And well, it's nice. The bottle is nice. This is nice for I don't know, a Christmas gift, or just showing on a shelf or on a bar. And well, the content is actually good. It's good content. I like it a lot. But yeah, the whole chill filtration, coloring, and ABV is just, they could have done it better. But that does not mean this is bad. Know what I'm saying? Especially for the price. And it is available. Oh, cinnamon, nutmeg. Definitely try and experiment with water, people. I did not really have an intention of trying this with water today. But I just thought, well, why not? And it changed it. Just 2 drops can significantly change a whiskey. Chocolate, marzipan, cake. Oh, it's pleasant. Oakiness, full chili spiciness. It's definitely good quality. What's in that bottle? But I cannot rate it a 10 out of 10. Just based on the taste, etc. If I did a blind tasting of this, what will I give it? 10 out of 10. If I did a blind tasting of this, and Jay just said, here, try this and rate this, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I would actually buy a bottle of it right away. I would say, bring me a bottle. I want it now. Because it is quality, but I cannot rate it 10 out of 10 because they could have done better with the presentation. Just remove the coloring, remove the chill filtration. That will only bring more to the whiskey. And look, the ABV thing, yes, make it 42, 43%. I mean, that would just work for this whiskey. The more alcohol that is in a whiskey, the more it grabs to the influence of the cask, and the more the cask and flavors, etc., are transported into a whiskey. I would actually love a Dalmore cask strength. And Richard Patterson knows what he is doing, but I just cannot rate this any higher. But if you don't care about all that stuff, chill filtration, etc., get it. You will not be disappointed. Definitely not. And for the people say you hate Dalmore, etc., no, I actually don't. I really like this one. This was my probably my 4th or 5th bottle I bought of whiskey. So yeah, and well, I haven't finished it. No, that's because I am savoring it. Whiskey should always be savored. It's about quality, not quantity. On that note, I am going to head off. Ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for watching. I hope you like it. If so, leave it a like. Wow, long video. I am sorry, guys or girls. I'm sorry. But yeah, I cannot to make... I am trying to make these videos shorter, but I just cannot do that. My whiskey reviews are just half an hour long. I'm sorry, that's just the case. So, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.